California girls face anti-trans attacks as they head to track championship. Well, these aren't girls. These aren't girls. And two high school girls, one from the Bay Area, have come under attack, much of it online and vicious, for qualifying for this weekend's California State Track and Field Championships. Enough already. Enough. Not girls. No. And that was actually a different San Francisco Chronicle piece than I was intending to share. It's this one.
I can see it now.
Okay, so go ahead and show this. Pro wrestler Giselle Shaw ready to come out as trans. I'm taking my power back. Okay? Just check out the first paragraph on this piece. So this is from June 24th, 2022. Coming out as transgender as an adult? Never easy. Coming out as a transgender woman when you're someone with a public profile? Harder still. Coming out as a transgender athlete in 2022 in the United States in today's political climate? That's a test of strength that might intimidate any trans person coming to terms with a decision to come out, even during Pride season. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Bullshit across the fucking board, right?
Of course.
Like, everything about this is reversed. This is a dude, a wrestler, who's declared himself a woman and now gets to beat up on women because that's what he's always wanted to do. And the San Francisco fucking Chronicle, sorry, but the San Francisco fucking Chronicle is celebrating him as doing this courageous and hard thing because now he has to beat up on women publicly.
Well, but, you know...
What the hell?
If his
Like,
authentic
seriously.
self is beating up on women, I mean, you certainly wouldn't want to prevent him from reaching his... I don't know, whatever. But
So I mean, it's this reversal.
Right, of course.
Like, this has now become the thing that you do in order to increase your fame. Like, in order to, and if you are a dude and you get to now be a trans woman, well, bonus to you, because now you get to cheat your way to all sorts of top events.
all right. But
I know that's not,
You've got-
I know that you don't approve of that.
you've got a bunch of despicable parasites who are engaged in the most absurd and public act of misogyny conceivable, right? And they are parasitizing a group of people who actually do face something pretty rotten,
Yes.
right? And in my opinion, actually, a bunch of responsibility falls on people who are truly in this category to say, actually, those people aren't us, right?
And they get attacked. They get pilloried.
I know they do. I know they do.
I know one person who has tried to do this, and she's attacked.
Right.
She's
But
really
I
attacked.
think, look, you and I have been attacked too. Okay. We have been attacked over doing exactly what we trained to do in the public health space. Okay. You and I trained to do science, and public health came at us with a bunch of nonsense, and we did science and paid a high price, but we're still on our feet.
Yep.
Okay. My point, and I made this point on Twitter more or less this week, when I basically said, hey, trans people, there are a bunch of people doing something in your name,
Yeah.
and they are jeopardizing women, gay men, lesbians, and children,
Children.
right? And, I got a bunch of them responded, and they're like, yes, we understand. This is a serious problem, right? So anyway, I think my point is those people who actually face this and are not part of this misogynistic insanity, they need to step up. It's not going to be fun, but they need to join those of us on Team Reality, right?
Yep.
And Team Reality is going to have to be a bit agnostic about what it is that causes the modern transsexual phenomenon, and maybe the distinction, maybe as Buck Angel has effectively led on this, he uses the term transsexual, right? I think he just doesn't use the word trans anymore because it has become this parasitized. Nonetheless, I think a bunch of things have been snuck by us, right? The idea trans, right? Trans is, it's a clever shortening, but the point is, one could take it to mean, oh, I have transitioned. I was X, now I am Y, right? That's not what happened, right? Frankly, it would be lovely if there were nobody using this category, nobody weaponizing it against reason. But in light of the fact that there are people weaponizing it, we can't afford to shorten it. We have to be perfectly clear about what this is and what it isn't, right? In order that no kids get hurt, for example, right?
Yes.
So anyway, I'm up for doing that. And I do, again, I'm putting the responsibility on people who actually find themselves trans and are not using this as a weapon, right? Those people, as frightening as it is, most of them didn't volunteer for anything public.
Right.
But if that's where you find yourself and you've got a bunch of parasites pretending to be in the category that you're in order to hurt other people, you need to stand up and say, hey, that's not what I'm doing. And in fact, I want no responsibility for those people, right? Those are misogynists. They are doing something terrible, and they are doing it in my name, and I'm going to remove my name from their plan, right? So anyway, I think that's where we should be. And then we can talk about the nuances. Is this really an ancient thing? Even if it's an ancient thing, is the new version of it a endocrine disruptor triggered version of something somewhat related, or maybe even not related to the ancient thing? All of those questions are on the table, and they're all interesting, and they're all important. I mean, if it's an endocrine disruption problem, then one question, as with all of the other places where we are hurting people developmentally and refusing to solve the problem so that one generation after another faces the same thing. If it's a disruption issue, the question is, what are the disruptors? Are they things we have control over? Can we not inflict this problem on people, right? At the very least, it should be clear to everyone that it is better if you feel the sex that you are born into, right? That is the best case. And so to the extent that there are people who don't find themselves in that situation, it would be great if we could stop making more people in that awkward position.
Yeah, but we could go on about this forever. The last thing that you said, it would be better, be easier for everyone if they felt the sex they were born into. But that raises the question, and I'm certainly not the first person to think this way, but this whole concept of gender identity is an utter fabrication. And it reminds me of the conversation we had a couple weeks ago about identity versus meaning, how, when we were coming of age, I understood what I was doing to be looking for meaning. And I wasn't trying to figure out, yeah, sure, who I am, but the identity, what are the words for the things that I am? That was never part of it. And this feels like a reversal and a narcissism and a turning inward and all of this. And, I've said, I was a tomboy, all of this, but I never thought I was a boy. But I don't remember ever thinking I was a girl either, right? I didn't identify as being a girl. I didn't need to. I was a girl, right? I didn't, certainly, I was going to say metamorphosis, adolescence. It's a little metamorphic for humans, but not really. But a lot of changes happen, right? And there's I was going to say there's no denying it, but
you can halt it with
apparently
stuff.
There's a lot of denying that can happen. But still, it wasn't now I'm identifying as a woman. No,
right?
No, that's not what it is. So I don't understand actually even the premise of it would be great if everyone felt like the sex that they are, or identifies actually no. Can we get beyond ourselves? Can we get over our stupid narcissism? Stop being the thing that's most important is if I think of myself as a boy or a girl. No, it doesn't matter at all, actually, because you just are. You know what? You can take this one off your to-do list. That one you could just scratch right off, because it doesn't matter what you think you are. You just are a thing.
Right.
And get on with your life, and then you be you. Be whatever you want to be. And if you've got the skills and the interests, and they are stereotypically, traditionally the sex that you're not, who cares? It's okay. We live in that world now. You can be any number of things, no matter what sex you are. Spending time thinking about, what do I feel like? It matters not a bit. Not a bit and it shouldn't matter to anyone. And it's a waste of everyone's time who's being dragged into this, and it's destroying people.
Okay.
Also.
I agree with that.
I do think they should take it off their to-do list.
I agree, and it's a great line, by the way. I would also point out that we have done work, which is probably for the best, but was certainly dangerous, where we have taken all of the normal constraints around what your sex is supposed to do in the world and thrown them out, right? There's only a few of these things that remain, right? So what that means is if you weren't comfortable with the role that was being inflicted on you as that was viewed in 1850, good news, right? The constraints are almost entirely gone. So whatever it is that you couldn't live with in 1850, you could probably live with now because you're welcome to do pretty much whatever you want, right? So there should be a lot less of this because the dysphoria that comes from, but I want to do, you know, I want to work in the mill and I'm a girl, right?
I don't want to have to pretend to be a man in order to do the creative work that I am passionate about doing. Great news. You don't have to.
Great. You don't need a pen name. You can write under your own name. You can work at the mill. You can do almost whatever you want, right? So that's great. And it should reduce the number of people who can't stand the constraints of the role they're born into because there are very few.
Yeah.
That said, there aren't zero.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
There aren't zero. And so all I'm saying
and that's,
is...
you know, like, also, you know, if you're 5'6", you're not going to the NBA. Right? Like, you know, there's some things that are true about you that are going to limit what you can do in life.
Right.
Get used to it.
But they are very, let's suppose that you can't live with the fact that you're not a platypus, duck-billed or otherwise.
I mean, the trans speciesists are out there. You know they are.
Of course they are. And the furry thing is out there, right? Which is, of course, a weird sexual fetish thing. Maybe it's something beyond that. Maybe it isn't. But, but the point is, look, there's a lot of people stuck with constraints, whether it's you're 5'5" and not going to the NBA or you know.
I just want to be a monetary.
Yeah, bad
just
roll
want
of
to
the
lay
dice.
eggs and have a bill.
Right, have a bill and swim around and burrow into the bank, right?
Poisonous. Spurs.
Yeah, right. The whole thing, right? So the point is, look, I mean, you know, I feel that I'm not an earthling. There are planets.
I feel the same way about you sometimes.
Stepped into that one, didn't I? But but the point is, look, you're stuck with nothing but constraints, and mostly we don't rail against them, right? And in this case, the railing against them is, you know, maybe partly based on some ancient stuff and partly based on the fact that, oh, there are people who are unhappy with their physiology. Well, we just happen to have a medical science company and we could come up with some stuff and some science. And
we've got a whole month for them.
Yeah, it's pharma homecoming month.
Oh, God.